Well, hello. I'll speak in English because I practice in English, so sorry. Well, I'll be talking today about leak localization in water distribution networks using pressure in a data-driven classifier approach that I have developed alongside of Son Gabriel, Temprano, and Vicente Puig at the Institute of Robotics and Industrial Engineering at Barcelona. So after a mouthful, you might be asking yourself, what is leak localization? And that will be the first topic of my discussion today. Afterwards, we'll briefly discuss the state of the art. And finally, we'll present our new methodology in a case study of Hanoi to discuss our results. So you might not know, but water leaks count up to 27% of all the extracted water losses inside a network, which is a huge amount. And it's important for us to localize where this leak is so we can send a team of people, or what the water companies can send a team of people to go and fix the leak as quickly as possible. So that's a very important reason to not lose water and to be able to achieve the humanitarian crisis that is the shortage of water. There are various methods to do this. There are hardware methods, like there are specialized tools that can detect the water that's the flow of the water, and there's also software using data and heuristics and all the buzzwords to be able to detect it. We'll be talking about that. So, what is leak localization? We have a water distribution network where we have different nodes and links between these nodes, and there's a leak inside one of these nodes or links. This is a quite difficult problem because, one, we do not have sensors at all nodes because they are expensive and they're hard to maintain. Two, it's also difficult because the topology is unique between everything. What works in Madrid, what works in Barcelona might not work here in Madrid. And also, how do we detect a leak? You might think this might be trivial. You go walking down the street, you see water coming out of the street, and you may, there's a leak. However, this is not so easy with software. Since we're dealing with not so big leaks, the ones that you need specialized tools to detect. So, given these two problems, we make some suppositions to make our job a bit easier. First, leaks are located at nodes and not at links. Second, the leak detection when a leak has happened has been solved. And finally, there's only one leak located at any point in the network. Second, brief discussion of the state of the art. First, they started using the hydraulic model, and it worked pretty well. However, it's difficult because you need to have the complete information of all the network to be able to simulate the hydraulic model. And when we're working with small towns, we usually do not have this information. And as well, it's a very tough estimation for the parameters, requiring many time. I'm going to skip 2. And 3, colleagues of ours started using a spatial interpolation using kriging, a technique called kriging, which when we do not have sensors in nodes, for what I said. So imagine these chairs are nodes. We have sensor here, a sensor here. We do not have sensors on those chairs over there. Using kriging, we can estimate what the pressure would be or what the sensors would give us from those nodes over there. So we use this in a reference model. Well, they use this in a reference model to calculate the residual, and the one that had the highest residual would be the one that said was the leak. We based our work upon this, and well, here's our new methodology. First of all, we need data, obviously, and for inside the water distribution network, we need for each node its pressure when there is a leak. So we have a complete data set with head of each of nodes, and finally the pressure and flow at the inlet, and where a leak is located using these heads, which we can assume that we have, since the water company would give us when they go and fix it, they would give us back feedback where the leak was at. Second, as I said, we do not have data at all sensors, so we would use kriging, again, to interpolate the sensors we do not have, the nodes that we know do not have sensors. And finally, we use a classifier. In this case, we used linear discriminant analysis, and we also used neural networks, but we're only showing LDA now. And we use directly the head. We remove the reference model. We use directly the values from the sensors. And finally, to evaluate with the other state of the art, we used 2 evaluation criteria: accuracy, which is the one you all know and love, and ATD is the minimum distance between nodes, between our candidate node and where the true leak is at. So for example, accuracy would be, here is the leak, and if it's not here, it's incorrect. But ATD would say, here's the true leak, but we say, here's the leak, and it will calculate the minimum distance. So it's a better estimation because even if we miss, if it's close enough, it's good enough for us. So presenting presenting this methodology using the case study of Hanoi, we simulated for each one of these nodes a leak that lasts 96 hours, and we chose different sensors. We placed different sensors, and we used the kriging, and afterwards we used the LDA. Well, that's okay. And finally, before I present you the summary, I want to say something why we're using the pressures directly and not the residuals. So here's the distribution for each node. If the 96 hours, we have a leak at node 2, so this box plot over here, the second one. And if the true estimation of the maximum residual hypothesis would be true, we would hope to see this box plot much more biased to higher results. However, as you can clearly see, this is not the case. It's similar to many others, and yeah, it's not. It just doesn't work. Here we use 4 sensors, and you might be asking, but maybe if we use all sensors inside a node, the reference would work better. However, we tested this, and also no, it is better. However, there are still quite some nodes that have a higher median than this one. So finally, the summary of the results. Here you can see, well, using 3 to 5 nodes, we can always get an accuracy of over 50%. And like I stated, it might seem a bit low. However, we have to take it into account that it's multi-label. So like I said before, if we choose that one and here was the true leak, it will be wrong. However, if they're close enough, it's good enough, which is what represents the ATD, which closer to 0 is the better. So as we can see, ATD is below 1, well, almost below 1 in all cases. And before, the state of the art was at like 3 and 4 ATD, which is a huge improvement along these lines. So finally, we concluded. This is this is the conclusion. Sorry. So yeah, we have proved that using the head instead of the residual, and using a classifier, for example, linear discriminant analysis or any other classifier, will work much better when we're using the sensors, the head pressure of the sensors instead of the residual, because first we get a simpler model. We do not have to estimate what would be a healthy state to calculate the residual. And finally, it's just you're avoiding having to interpolate more error. So, and final, there's still room to improvement. Like, we need a lot of historical data for this to work. And the number of sensors and the sensor placement will vary the performance very much, which is a known issue in this topic. And finally, what happens when we do not have a leak scenario? For example, I said we had 31 nodes in the Hanoi case. We miss one, there's never a leak at node 1. And for example, we now have a leak at node 1. In reality, what would happen then? Our model would not work that well. I don't know, thank you for listening. Hope you enjoyed it. Quick and easy.